Hi guys!
Hi guys, and welcome back to Couch Critics.
Yes, today we're reviewing a new movie.
It's called Consents. It's a French movie called Le Consentement in French,
Yes.
and it's a movie adaptation of Vanessa Springora's book.
Yeah.
Is she the producer? She is, I think.
No, there's the producer and the director is Vanessa, and the writer is another Vanessa, so it's like two different Vanessas.
Okay.
Who, but I thought that the writer and the director was the same person, and it's actually an autobiographical book.
Okay.
So she talked about her own story. So I was surprised. I was like, wow, that's a power woman. But no, it's actually two Vanessas. It's still very impressive.
So many Vanessas.
So many Vanessas. But yeah, it is based on Vanessa Springora's book and her experience, her real life experience with the writer. What was his name?
Gabriel Matzneff.
Matzneff, yes. And it's I didn't know it was biographical at first, and then halfway into the movie I googled it. And at first I really did not like the movie because I did not understand why someone would make such a disturbing movie.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I realized it's biographical, I was like, wow, no, that's a completely different story. It makes so much more sense now, and it's so much more meaningful because she was talking about her own story. So yeah, what did you think about the movie?
First of all, I had no idea that this movie existed. I just stumbled across a video, like a very small clip of it on TikTok, and I did not really do any research. I thought it was an adaptation of um, Elizabeth Kate Russell's book My Dark Vanessa. It also has a Vanessa in it, and it's the same storyline, and it's a book that I read a few years ago. Very heavy book, same topic, beautifully written, but very disturbing. And going into the movie, I watched the beginning, and then, like it's crazy how the story is very similar to My Dark Vanessa. And My Dark Vanessa is a fiction, and it's uh, influenced by. No, it's actually inspired from Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov.
Yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah, and no, it wasn't an adaptation of My Dark Vanessa. It was an adaptation of The Consent from which is Vanessa Springora. I'm getting lost in all these Vanessas.
Yes,
Which is adapted from Vanessa Springora's book. And yeah, it's not my first time reading stories like this. I read Lolita a long time ago, and that was the first book that I read who treated such a heavy subject.
Should we say what it is about? Because we completely forgot to do the synopsis.
Lolita is this classic book that was written a long time ago. Like, I don't know when, but it was a long time ago by Russian author Vladimir Nabokov.
Okay.
And it's this reference that is used to refer to love, actually. It is not, when you think of Lolita, yes, you know what it's about, but you don't think of all the disturbing elements that are in it, because the book is so beautifully written, which leads you to question if you have been manipulated as a reader and as a viewer. And then it like leads you to think, to like realize how influence work, how, because like when you hear stories like this about young girls, very young girls, who fall in love, between brackets, who fall in love with older men, you can't help but judge them or judge the man. But when you look closer into the story, obviously you still think that everything that you're reading is wrong, but for a split second you forget that it's wrong, and you like start thinking that what you're reading is actually beautiful. And then you have to like remind yourself that no, there is a huge age gap between those two characters, and that is um how this whole like trap thing works.
But did you forget that it was wrong watching the movie? Just like for context, The Consent is a movie about a student who falls in love with her teacher, and the teacher is a writer. very well-renowned writer in his 50s, and the student is 14 years old.
Yeah.
And did you forget that it was wrong while watching the movie, or is it just because you were reading a book and you had no images in front of you that you were able to forget?
It's because I was reading the book.
Okay.
Definitely, because of course when you watch the movie, you see the ugly side of it, but when you're reading, and when you're reading from the older person's perspective,
Yeah.
you are manipulated, just like these girls. You start maybe, like, you don't justify their actions, but you forget to judge them at a certain time. And I'm just being as objective as I can when I'm giving this opinion. At, like, I'm not saying that anything is right. Like, obviously I'm condemning everything that was written, and I do think that those are horrible things, but I just cannot, like, ignore the influence that Lolita has on, like, younger girls.
Yeah.
It is a book that is written, like, that is being read by very young people, and it's something that I don't think people talk about a lot, and people don't try to acknowledge what's wrong. And I feel like what's wrong is that there is this element of glamorization in these books. And just if anyone is interested in reading My Dark Vanessa, it's written from the victim's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Lolita?
It's from the abuser's perspective.
See, that's the thing. That's the beauty about the movie, because in the movie, what happened in real life with Vanessa, the actor, well, the character, the victim, the kid, is that after Matzneff, was that his name? After Gabriel broke up with her,
Matzneff,
he wrote a book about his experience with her, and he managed to make her look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that was so disturbing, in my opinion. And at the time, because it was based on a true story, at the time, nobody defended Vanessa. There was one person who defended Vanessa, and that one person got death threats after that. Because I was watching interviews about the movie, and some people brought up the story from back in the days. Like, they talked about how it was handled at the time, and nobody was on Vanessa's side. Everybody blamed the kid, and made me question so many things. Like, this movie, first of all, made me re-question the whole phrase "love has no age," because I used to defend that, and I used to be like, yeah, love has no age. Like, what if there's a big age gap between a couple and everything? But then you see these situations where the age gap is between a kid, not a teenager, and someone who's on the edge of retirement, and you're like, maybe love needs to have an age. Maybe it's okay if love has an age. Just, it's these movies, they're disturbing in the good way, because they make us question so many things.
No, love definitely has an age. I mean, if you're both, you could have an age gap if you're both on the same lane. And I'm thinking about maybe if you're 20 and you're dating someone who's not even 20. Like, if you're 25 and dating someone who's 35 and you both have similar lives, that's fine. But if you're 15 and dating someone who's 25, that's not okay. And I get why people liked Gabriel and didn't like Vanessa back at the time. It's because he's a great writer, and he managed to manipulate everybody, just like he did with Vanessa. And this takes me back to what I was saying about Lolita. He is the Vladimir Nabokov of that generation, and Vanessa is the Vanessa of My Dark Vanessa. And you definitely realize that what you're seeing is wrong, and you condemn it, and you're, but like, I feel like in order to normalize talking about these subjects, we need, like, movies like this from the victim's perspective, as hard as they are to watch or to make or to film and everything, they are very important. Like, we need to normalize the fact that all of this is wrong. It needs to be very automatic. Like, even no matter how great the writing is and how beautiful the book that has been written from the abuser's perspective is, it, like, we can't forget for a split second that everything is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the mother in this whole story because I was so confused about my opinion of her during the movie. What did you think about Vanessa's mom?
First of all, I love Laetitia Casta, the actress. She's amazing, and I thought she was weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did not respond to any of her daughter's cries for help, and she was jealous at some point of her daughter. You know, when Vanessa was trying to break up with Gabriel, she told her that she would never find someone who would love her as much as Gabriel.
But see, that's the part that confused me because
Yeah.
I really feel like she was working in reverse psychology because at first the mother was really against the whole relationship, but then when she saw how Vanessa reacted to her and how she told her, "Listen, if you don't let me like fall for him, if you don't let me love him, I'm gonna go live somewhere else. I'm gonna run away from this home and everything." So I really think that, in her opinion, encouraging the relationship, not encouraging it, but like agreeing to it and still having Vanessa under her wings was better than completely like disagreeing with her and letting her run away. So I really think that um she wasn't okay with it, but she tried her best to find, because it's such a fragile situation and she didn't want to lose her daughter. So she tried her best to find this like narrow edge where to let her. And I felt like if she was happy about her daughter breaking up with Gabriel, maybe her daughter would have been like, "Oh no, you're happy about it. I want like just to rebel against you, I'm gonna go back with him." So her saying, "Oh, how come you broke up with him?" was her encouraging her daughter to do the opposite of what she told her.
Um, I don't think she cared about her daughter at all. I think she was too self-centered, and she's a narcissistic mother. All she does was drink her way through the entire movie. And also there is like a key scene to me, which is the scene in the beginning when we see her with the guy and she's trying to get him to leave his wife. And when he does, he just like never responds to her and leave. And then she drinks herself to sleep every day. Um, and to me, when she heard about what Vanessa was doing, when she heard about her daughter dating a very old guy, she was mad because that was the right thing to do, because you know, after all, she's her mom and she wants her to date someone her age. But as soon as she saw the relationship and the attention that Vanessa was getting from Gabriel, she was jealous. She was jealous because she did not try to stop her from dating him. She did not call the police. She did not call Vanessa's father. She didn't do anything.
She actually lied to the police and told them that they weren't dating each other because. But did she do it because she wanted it to keep going, or did she do it because she was afraid to lose Vanessa? Because she did she didn't do the best job at being a mother. Like she did let this happen, and but it's such a fragile situation. It's so hard. I could not imagine myself, and I don't know what I would have done if I were in her shoes. It's so complicated.
I don't agree. I don't think it's complicated nor fragile. I think when you're a mom and you see your daughter who's 13, brilliant kid, who starts to not sleep, drink too much, smokes and everything, and she's 13 dating this very old looking guy. You don't need to know his age. You obviously go to the police or you try something. She did not try anything to me.
That's true.
And again, like we're both having like very subjective opinions, and I totally get yours. Like you, of course, like I guess she didn't want Vanessa to leave her place and to go live with Gabriel. But again, like you did not try hard enough. Yeah,
it's true. And Gabriel is such a manipulative man. Oh my God, I did not like him one bit. And I was watching an interview with the actor who played Gabriel. And for the first time, I saw an actor saying, "I did not like my character." Like that, usually in acting, the golden rule is to never judge your character. You should always defend your character because you're playing them. And how could you play someone you don't agree with? But he couldn't, like, he didn't. And he had such a resentment towards the character.
Of course.
And I found that even more interesting because he even looked different in the interview. He had a beard. He was like a completely different person.
He had his hair.
Yeah, he had his hair. And it was so impressive to see, like, this character, nobody wanted it to exist. Like, when he finished playing his role, he just didn't want him to exist anymore. And it's just, it's hard to explain, but it's fascinating to just hear the actor talk about this person. And yeah, it's just.
I watched I think the same interview that you're referring to, where he said that he was disgusted by all the research that he did about his character, and he couldn't get why from the archives that he looked at and the videos of Gabriel that he looked at. So he started to method act, not by chasing young girls, but like by doing his nails, because Gabriel did that, walking the same way, drinking his coffee the same way as Gabriel did, and it did not help him. Like, he just couldn't get into that character. He couldn't understand the why. And I get that he's trying to like separate himself as much as he can from this character, and he did a great job like portraying this character. And I don't know. I don't know where I was trying to go with this idea. But yeah,
it's moments like these that remind us why movies could be so great, because I don't think it's a role anybody would have taken. Like, it takes someone, like, you have to. I feel like it's the kind of job that nobody wants to have, playing this role, but he did it for the purpose of it. He did it because he wanted to show how bad everything is, and someone needs to play this role. Someone needs to take this job for the purpose of the movie, and it just made me admire the actor even more for doing that. It felt like, I know it's too much, but I don't really mean it, but it felt like a sacrifice he had to do just to portray the character and to portray that. And then I think in the same interview they talked about the younger generation and how they did this movie for the younger generation, because I don't ever think it was romanticized for older people to fall in love with younger people, but it's, even though it wasn't romanticized, someone needed to not just not romanticize it, but like show how wrong this is. Like, these movies are like rules for how we should be living, and like what's right and what's wrong, and it just makes everything so clear. Because as you said, sometimes when you're reading a book, it's harder to picture how wrong it is, because you forget about the age, you stop seeing the pictures. But like, when you see it in person, when you see it in the movie, you're like, no, this is not okay, no matter how okay the kid is with it. Because in the movie, Vanessa defended her love so much. Like, she defended Gabriel for everybody, and she didn't always explain herself, but for her, what she was doing was right. She was in love, and that's all that mattered. But then you understand, like, even if kids are in love,
but also you need to realize that, like, kids like Vanessa, they are very smart, because it's not the dumbest kids in the classroom. It's these girls who read a lot and who are much more mature than their age in some way, who cannot relate to their peers. And these girls, they're very exposed to literature, like Vladimir Nabokov's book Lolita. Again, like, for My Dark Vanessa, the character read Lolita and she was very impacted by it. And I'm pretty sure that Vanessa Springora read Lolita, or I'm not sure actually. I just assumed that she read it. And in these books, like, love is justified. Like, this age gap in love is justified by love, and it's normalized. And if I, as an adult, for a split second, can forget about the age gap when I'm reading, because when you're reading, you kind of get lost in your book. I cannot imagine how a kid would like just forget it beyond the book, beyond the pages, and would start to just like normalize these things. And then they meet an adult who tells them that we are the same and we like the same things, and like who makes them feel special and validated compared to their peers. And then
it's flattering.
Yeah.
It's really flattering. Yeah.
And I was thinking about this. I was like, how could these very smart girls fall into this trap? Because it's always the smartest ones.
Yes.
And yeah.
They just want to belong. They want to belong somewhere. It's just because they are so smart and they feel so out of place, they want to be around people who get them. And it's also very flattering if an author. It's so funny. In one scene, he said, "Oh yeah, I keep on me the letter that François Mitterrand wrote for me because he loves my book." How narcissistic you have to be to actually carry a letter that an old president wrote for you, just around, just to show off. But for a kid, that's impressive.
That's very impressive.
She's talking to someone that the president knows about. It's like it's the spotlight, on them. But at the same time, I feel if this movie taught me anything, is to just let kids be kids, even though they're smarter and even though they feel like they don't belong. Just like push them forward to belong, even if I don't know. Let kids be immature. Let kids, I don't just live their lives.
I also want to talk about this whole obsession with youth and how, especially for women, as a society, we are obsessed with being younger. And also, I was thinking about this week as I was going out to meet my friends. I hadn't done my makeup nor my hair for a long time because I don't usually wear that much makeup, but like for that special occasion, I did put on makeup, a little bit of it. And as I was like walking down the street, I looked around and I looked at guys in the street, and they looked like they just rolled out of bed. Of course, they didn't have any makeup on, and they were wearing their like the most basic outfits. And I thought to myself, I was like, why do I keep telling myself, why do I only feel pretty when I put on makeup? And it's not even that much makeup. Like, why is there so much, like, a big difference between the way that I feel when I wear concealer versus when I'm not wearing concealers? Why can't we just like glamorize dark circles for women? Because when I see a guy with dark circles, I don't expect him to wear concealer. I just think that they look good on him. It's like, it's fine. It means that he has a life. He does things. He doesn't sleep that much. Yeah.
I have a question. Is it because you associate wearing makeup to going out or to being relaxed or to just like having fun and socializing?
No, I think it's just it's an automatism. Like, it's something that I feel like I have to do because I can't remember the last time that I went out to see anyone, like literally anyone, without any makeup. Like,
Me neither.
yeah, and that's a problem because like I don't mind wearing makeup when I want to wear makeup. It's fun to have all these products and to kind of look different, slightly different. Not that different because that would be a catfish. But at the same time, I'm like, there is something that's pushing us as women to to like always want to look beautiful. And what's beauty to women? It's directly um, it's directly associated with youth.
Yeah.
And so we're always trying to look younger. We're too afraid to age, and I don't understand why. It is a privilege to get to a certain age. A lot of women don't get to the age that I'm at for different reasons. So why do I feel the pressure to look younger? And I'm young, and I feel old sometimes, and like I do compare myself to like to so many girls, and like, and it's just like I feel like it's not a flaw that I gave myself. It's more of something that was like imposed on me. Like, it's because that's what we see. As soon as you open social media, you see people like girls showing off what they just bought for their hair, for their face, you don't ever see guys doing that.
Yes, also talking about youth, it's funny when you mention like how it's a privilege to grow older, because every time we talk about youth, I think about acting and how most actors feel like their career was over by the time they're 30 and things like that. It's so funny. I keep remembering this meme about Hilary Duff. Someone posted, like, they thought they were glorifying Hilary Duff by saying, "Oh, she's 30 and she still looks amazing and everything." And then someone else replied to it because it was a thread on Twitter. How do you expect women to look like in their 30s? Like, do
Yeah.
you expect them to start all of a sudden having wrinkles and looking like the bad guys from Disney movies? Like, it's not how, it's not, it's
Realistic.
getting older. Yeah, it's not that realistic. And
Yeah.
even if you start having white hair and wrinkles, as you said, it's a privilege, but also in acting, it just gives you a whole new spectrum of roles that you can play. You can start playing the role of the
Yeah.
mother, the, like, even the grandmother, the aunts, the family members, the characters that are so crucial to a good movie. And yeah, it's mainly,
And you start like having some representations
yes,
in the movie. You start having people that actually look like you,
yeah,
and then therefore you have an audience who will slowly start to aspire to look a certain way, and they will
yeah,
just root themselves into themselves,
yeah.
and I think that's beautiful. Not having to all look the same way is beautiful, I think.
I'm looking forward to the day when I start having white hair. I had a white hair the other day and I was at the hairdresser and she cut it off and I was so disappointed. Like, now it's growing back and I'm so happy about it because
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful thing and it's not something we should hide, not something we should conceal, quite literally. And yeah,
We should
age.
redefine what beauty is and
Yeah,
all the beauty standards for women, because I also like I think that men don't have as many body image issues as women.
no, if anything, men through society's image, they get more attractive when they get older. Like,
Yeah.
people start idolizing them more when they get older, which is not always the case for women, and that's,
Yeah.
it's sad.
Do you want to talk about how your experience watching the movie? Like, were there any scenes that you found very disturbing that you couldn't look at?
I was disturbed all through the whole movie, but you did warn me about it.
I had your consent.
Yeah, you did have my consent for watching the movie. But yeah, no, I was disturbed. I was rolling my eyes. I was just sighing the whole movie. Every time Gabriel opened his mouth, I was like, oh my God, here we go again. I did
He
not
would
like,
say the wildest things.
yeah, with like
You
so
are my
much
favorite
confidence
child.
and with his hands, and he would speak as if what he said was about to solve all the world's problems. Like, he was so confident, and I it's not true, but I admired him. I'm like, I wish I could bullshit people that way. But no, it's yeah, no, I did not like the movie at first, and then when Lewis got there, I just, Lewis, I feel like he brought colors to Vanessa's life, and it's a character that I did like, and I even liked the movie more when Vanessa took the matter in her own hands and she wrote her book. And at first, as I mentioned, I did not think that, I forgot that it was a biographical book, so I just kept wondering, like, why would someone make such a movie? And then when I realized that it's an autobiographical, a biographical book, and when I saw Vanessa write her own book, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, to go back to Lewis, I liked him. I know you don't agree, but
No.
I think he's a character. He pushed Vanessa to break up with Gabriel, and
Mhm.
he kind of reminded her that there's more to life than the image she has. And like, there's one time where he told her, like, your life is still in front of you. Like,
Mhm.
you still have your whole life in front of you, and you shouldn't let this one experience define you. But yeah, what did you think about Lewis?
I hated Lewis. I couldn't stand Lewis, and there was something about him. Like, anyways, he is a uni student. I'm not sure, but I think he said that he's a law student.
He does look older.
He is older. He doesn't look. He looks older, and he is older.
Yeah.
And I feel like he completely took advantage of Vanessa's situation, the fact that she was very fragile and weak, to start to, like, first of all get her to leave Gabriel, but it was just so that he would follow his own agenda that he had in his head, which is to date Vanessa, and it's still a crime. Like, it's still illegal. He's still not a minor, and she is a minor. And so I feel like Vanessa, yes, she felt a little bit better at first when she was dating him, because she was around people who were a little bit closer to her age. They were still not her age, obviously, but it did not solve her problem. She was still very miserable when she was dating him, and therefore, if it was that healthy, she would have stayed with him. But yeah. I feel like he was just selfish, and anything that he'd done for him was to get something that he wanted. And yes. I did not trust him. I did not trust anyone around that girl. Like, not her mom, not her. I feel like it is I'm so happy to see where she's at now, because she did not have anyone to like be there for her, and I'm glad that she was able to turn this around and to make something good come out of it. And I'm happy that she took from Gabriel the one thing that he always aspired to have, which is to have a successful book, because his work was mediocre. He did everything, like, he justifies all of his crimes as a search for inspiration for his book. He's a vampire, as the actor described him, who sucks the life out of his victims to write. And he was never able to write something great. And therefore, Vanessa comes around in her 40s and she writes something great, something very impactful, something that would make a change, something that gets people to like view things in a different way. It's like her book has an impact on like the society as a whole. Yeah. And that's something I feel like that Gabriel would have wished to have. Yeah. And I'm glad that at least she was able to take the one thing that mattered for him from him.
Yeah, see, I was asking myself this question because from the beginning of the movie, everybody said, Vanessa, you're going to be a great writer. And I was searching for what she wrote, and she didn't write that many things. Yeah. And it broke my heart, because I asked myself, if this hadn't happened to her, would she have written more books? But then, as you said, she wrote this one book that did such a great impact. And yes, maybe it's not a good thing that this happened to her, but maybe if it happened to someone else, they wouldn't have done the same thing. Like, they wouldn't have had the same outcome. They wouldn't have written this book. And we need these books to be written, because these things are happening whether someone writes about them or not. But the fact that it happened to Vanessa, and that she wrote about it, and that she explicitly showed why it's a bad thing, because we know it's a bad thing. It's just sometimes we try to justify it. Sometimes we just, because it's not so obvious, because it's not so like explicit, because it's not so graphic, as you said, we still have a hard time picturing it. But the fact that she wrote her book, that it was turned into a movie, now you can't watch this movie and think that this is okay. Even the actor who played Gabriel didn't think it was okay. So just the fact that she did something out of it, even if she only wrote one book, and that she was able to write this book, because this book matters more than any other book not any other book she would have written, but this book matters more than so many other books that are being written. And it's a good thing that she wrote it. So yeah.
Also, like, this makes me think about how Lolita was the most famous Vladimir Nabokov book. Yeah. And to me, this having The Consent as Vanessa's most famous book is great, because I would love it if it's a replacement for Lolita. If younger generations and like kids, if they start reading this instead of Lolita, that would be great.
Yeah.
Also, there were two disturbing scenes in the movie, and I just want to mention them as a trigger warning, because they did like make me feel very uncomfortable. There is this scene, it's a close-up, it's a very close close-up of Vanessa's knees. You don't see anything wild. What's wild comes afterwards, but to me that was more disturbing than anything that I've seen in the movie. It was one of the most brutal cinematographic scenes. and it's a close-up of her knees, and then you see these very old hands, Gabriel's hands, on her knees, and he just like puts his hand on her knees, and it is this, it looks like a painting, because like the camera stays on for a while on this shot, and it looks like this very disturbing painting of something beautiful that is being stained by something ugly,
evil.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah, and to me that scene, that shot is a resume of everything that happens in the movie. And also the scene of Vanessa looking into the mirror, and she has like this hallucination of seeing herself with like the younger boys.
Yeah. It's crazy because these are not the most graphic scenes in terms of PG or anything. Like, it's not the most explicit scenes, but I do understand, I do get why you found them as the most disturbing scenes. They are disturbing indeed, and it's just the meaning behind them that's that disturbing. Yes.
Also, we do refer to victims, and I think throughout this entire video, as women, and we did talk about youth, and we talked a lot about women, but these kind of things also happen to boys, to little kids, and I'm thinking about books like Gone Tomorrow by Indiana Gary, or like May December, and those are much more, they're about much younger boys than Vanessa, and it's there should be more conversations about them too, especially that, at least for women, when we see those movies, there is no question about whether it's wrong or right. It looks bad.
Yes.
But for movies like May December, you consciously know that it's wrong, but like you just like when you see Julianne Moore and the actor who played her husband, you're like, okay, maybe
they were in love, but like, no, he was a kid. But is it because it was filmed, the context of May December is far later, when like the actor is already in his 30s, so maybe it's less disturbing than seeing a 14-year-old. But I think it's also very important to differentiate in these kind of situations. We're not talking about women versus men. We're simply talking about kids versus adults. And I do understand when the woman is being the kid, it's easier to empathize towards them than when the guy is the kid, like in the movie May December. But it's still so important to understand that this movie is not a feminist movie, in my opinion. This movie is just a movie talking about something that's illegal that happened, and regardless of whether it was a girl or it was the other way around, this shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Totally.
Yeah. A very heavy movie, but it definitely is a must watch. And I think that's the beauty of movies. In this situation, it's not entertainment. It's basically, it's something like, it's rule book that was translated in the movie. It's an example of everything that shouldn't be happening, that sometimes is unfortunately happening, and this is why it's so important to watch this movie. Yeah.
These are the kind of movies that will make a change, perhaps.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
This was our review of The Consent.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
And please come back next week.
Yes, we're reviewing June.
Yeah. So see you guys next Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.